You're sitting across from someone you love. They're smiling at you, saying all the right things. And then, for the first time, you hear what's actually going on behind their eyes. Not the words they chose, the ones they didn't. Most people spend their whole life wishing they could read minds. Almost none of them have thought about what they'd hear. Your brain never stops talking. Even right now, reading this, there's a voice in your head saying the words. That voice doesn't switch off. In 2020, researchers at Queen's University tried to actually count it. They tracked the moments when one thought ends and the next begins. Their estimate? Around 6,000 thoughts a day. 6,000. And here's the uncomfortable part. Your brain is not a calm place. It's wired with something scientists call the negativity bias. It holds on to threats, fears, and embarrassments far more tightly than good things. Because for most of human history, the brain that assumed the worst was the brain that survived. And it gets stranger. In one international study, researchers found that around 94% of people admit to having unwanted, intrusive thoughts. Dark ones, violent ones, bizarre ones. Thoughts that just appear, uninvited, and that the person would never act on. Not because something is wrong with them, because that is simply what a human brain does. It generates noise, constantly. And every person you have ever met is quietly hiding theirs, the exact same way you're hiding yours. So here's the question. What if you couldn't hide it anymore? What if, starting tomorrow, you could hear every thought of every person around you, all the time, whether you wanted to or not? The first thing to break would be the people closest to you. Not because they're hiding something evil, because their brains, like yours, produce thousands of fleeting, meaningless, ugly little thoughts a day. The flash of irritation your partner feels and lets go of in a second. The half-second your best friend compares their life to yours. The thought your parent has that they would be horrified for you to ever know. None of these are betrayals. Every brain produces them and then moves on. But if you could hear them, you wouldn't move on. You'd collect them. And slowly, the people you love most would become unbearable to you for crimes they never actually committed. Then it gets worse. Because you wouldn't just hear what people think about each other, you'd hear what they think about you. Every person you walk past, the stranger judging your shoes, the coworker who smiles to your face, the friend who loves you but had one unkind thought in a bad moment. There's a reason we don't get to hear this. The most fragile thing a human has is the story they tell themselves about how they're seen. Hearing the raw, unfiltered truth of what's in everyone's head wouldn't make you wiser. It would dismantle you, one stray thought at a time. And you couldn't escape it. In the 1980s, a psychologist named Daniel Wegner ran a famous experiment. He told people one simple thing. Do not think about a white bear. That's it. And of course, they could think about nothing else. He proved something strange about the mind. The harder you try not to hear a thought, the louder it gets. Now imagine that, but it isn't your one thought. It's the thoughts of every person in the room, every person on the street, a wall of voices you never agreed to hear and cannot turn down. There is no silence anymore. There is nowhere inside your own head that is just yours. But the real horror isn't how loud it would be. It's what it would do to how you see everyone. Because here's the thing nobody tells you about thoughts. A thought is not a plan. A thought is not a wish. A thought is not who someone is. Your mind throws up thousands of random, contradictory, disturbing things every day, and the entire skill of being a person is letting almost all of them pass by without acting. The kind man still has cruel thoughts. The faithful partner still notices other people. The gentle parent still has a dark second they'd never speak aloud. That gap between the thought and the person is where your whole humanity lives. But if you could hear the thought, you would never see the gap. You'd mistake the noise for the truth. You'd judge every person you love by the worst thing their brain ever coughed up by accident. And you'd be wrong about every single one of them. So here's the part nobody expects. We treat the privacy of the mind like a limitation, the one place we can't reach. But it isn't a wall keeping us out. It's a gift keeping us safe. The fact that no one can hear you is the only reason you're allowed to have the ugly thought. Let it go, and choose to be kind anyway. That silence is where you decide who you actually are, separate from the chaos your brain hands you. Reading minds wouldn't reveal people. It would destroy them by confusing the static for the soul. You don't love people because their thoughts are clean. You love them because of what they choose to do with the mess. Tonight, you'll think a few things you'd never say out loud. A petty one, a dark one, a thought that isn't you, just passing through, and nobody will ever know. You always thought of that as something to feel guilty about. It might be the kindest thing about being human. The mess stays yours, and so does the choice of who to be in spite of it.